Hey everyone, Dr. Josh Mack here, and today we're diving into the roller coaster that is the US education system. It's a topic that's both incredibly important and deeply complex, affecting millions of students across the country. Now, we all know education is important, right? It's the foundation upon which we build our futures. The stepping stone to achieving our dreams and aspirations. It's the bedrock of opportunity, the key to a brighter future, blah blah blah. But let's get real for a moment. But here's the thing. The quality of education you get in America shouldn't depend on your zip code. Sadly, it often does. This disparity is glaring and has long-lasting effects on students' lives. We have this crazy patchwork system where states have a lot of control over their own education policies. This means that the quality of education can vary dramatically from one state to another, and even from one district to another within the same state. This might sound good in theory, but it leads to huge disparities. Some states prioritize education and allocate significant resources, while others struggle to provide even the basics. Rich states can afford to invest more in their schools, leading to better teachers, newer resources, and more opportunities for their students. This creates an environment where students can thrive and reach their full potential. Meanwhile, schools in underfunded districts are often left struggling with outdated textbooks, overcrowded classrooms, and a severe lack of support. These schools are fighting an uphill battle every single day. This isn't just unfair, it's a recipe for perpetuating inequality. When students don't have access to quality education, it limits their opportunities and keeps them trapped in a cycle of poverty. Kids in under-resourced schools are less likely to graduate, less likely to go to college, and less likely to reach their full potential. This has a ripple effect on their communities and society as a whole, and that hurts all of us. When we fail to invest in our children's education, we fail to invest in our future. We need a skilled workforce, a vibrant democracy, and a society where everyone has a chance to succeed. Education is the cornerstone of all these things. But we can't have that without a strong, equitable education system. We need to ensure that every student, regardless of their background or where they live, has access to the same high-quality education. Some people say the answer is to just get rid of the Department of Education altogether and let states handle everything. But that's like trying to fix a leaky faucet by ripping out the entire plumbing system. We need to fix the system, not abandon it. We need comprehensive reforms that address the root causes of these disparities. We need to invest in our schools, support our teachers, and make sure every student, regardless of background, has access to a quality education. This means better funding, better training for teachers, and better resources for students. Because in the words of Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And it's up to us to wield that weapon wisely and justly. Let's work together to create an education system that truly serves all students, giving them the tools they need to build a better future for themselves and for all of us. Okay, so we've established that the US education system is, to put it mildly, a bit of a mess. But what's the solution? How do we ensure that every child, regardless of their background or where they live, gets the education they deserve? Some argue that we should just scrap the whole thing and let states handle it on their own. They believe that local control is the key to addressing the unique needs of each community. They claim that the Department of Education is too bureaucratic, too out of touch, and ultimately more of a hindrance than a help. They see it as a monolithic entity that stifles innovation and local decision-making. But here's the thing, the Department of Education plays a vital role in ensuring that all students have access to a quality education, regardless of where they live. It acts as a safeguard against the inequalities that can arise when education is left solely to local authorities. It sets national standards, distributes funding to schools in need, and works to protect the rights of all students. Without these national standards, the quality of education could vary drastically from one state to another. Without a national body overseeing education, the disparities we see between states would only worsen. The gap between the haves and the have-nots would grow even wider, leaving many children behind. Wealthy states would continue to pour resources into their schools, while poorer states would fall further behind. This would create an even more divided society, where a child's zip code determines their future. We'd essentially be saying that it's okay for some kids to have access to a world-class education while others are stuck with crumbling classrooms and outdated textbooks. This is not the vision of equality and opportunity that our country stands for. And that's just not acceptable. Every child deserves a fair shot at success, and that starts with a solid education. The Department of Education isn't perfect, of course. It's a large, complex organization, and like any government agency, it has its flaws. But those flaws shouldn't overshadow its importance. It's a large, complex organization, and like any government agency, it has its flaws. But it's also full of dedicated individuals who are passionate about improving education for all students. These are people who work tirelessly to ensure that every child has the opportunity to succeed. And it's the only entity with the power and the reach to address the systemic inequalities that plague our education system. No other organization has the same ability to enact widespread change. Instead of dismantling it, we need to strengthen it, empower it, and give it the resources it needs to do its job effectively. This means investing in education, supporting our teachers, and ensuring that every school has the resources it needs. Because the future of our nation depends on it. Our children are our most valuable resource, and their education is the key to a brighter future for all of us. So we know the Department of Education is essential, but how do we actually fix this mess? The challenges are numerous and complex, but they are not insurmountable. It's time for a serious national reform plan, a blueprint for change, if you will. This plan must be comprehensive and inclusive, addressing the needs of all stakeholders. And trust me, this isn't some pie-in-the-sky idealism. These are concrete steps we can take to create a more equitable and effective education system. We need to start by listening to educators, students, and parents. First off, we need to establish clear national standards. These standards should be flexible enough to accommodate local needs while ensuring a high level of education for all. I'm not talking about some rigid one-size-fits-all curriculum. Instead, we need adaptable guidelines that allow for creativity and innovation in teaching. I'm talking about ensuring that all students, regardless of where they live, graduate high school with the knowledge and skills they need to succeed in college, careers, and life. This means focusing on critical thinking and practical skills. Next up, equitable funding. This is crucial for leveling the playing field. We can't keep relying on property taxes to fund our schools. This method perpetuates inequality and leaves many students behind. It's a system that inherently disadvantages students in low-income communities. We need a fairer way to distribute resources. We need a system that provides more resources to schools that need them most. This includes not just funding, but also access to quality materials and support services. But it's not just about money. We need to ensure that every school has the tools and support to help students thrive. We also need to address the teacher shortage crisis. This is a critical issue that affects the quality of education. We need to attract and retain talented educators by offering competitive salaries, providing ongoing professional development, and creating supportive working environments. Teachers are the backbone of our education system. And let's not forget about the curriculum. It needs to be dynamic and engaging. We need to move beyond rote memorization and standardized tests. These methods do not prepare students for real-world challenges. We need a curriculum that fosters critical thinking, problem-solving, creativity, and collaboration. These are the skills that will help students succeed in the future. We need to prepare students for the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past. This means integrating technology and modern skills into the classroom. Finally, we need to expand access to vocational training and apprenticeship programs. These programs provide valuable hands-on experience. Not every student is college-bound, and that's okay. We need to recognize and support different pathways to success. We need to provide multiple pathways to success, ensuring that all students have the opportunity to develop valuable skills and pursue fulfilling careers. By doing so, we can build a better, more inclusive education system for everyone. Okay, so we have a plan. Great. But let's be real, folks, this isn't going to be easy. Reforming the US education system is like trying to parallel park a school bus during rush hour in a hurricane. There are going to be roadblocks, detours, and probably a few fender benders along the way. One of the biggest challenges is going to be overcoming resistance from states. Remember that whole states' rights thing? Yeah, that's going to come up a lot. Some states are going to be reluctant to relinquish control over their education systems, even if it's in the best interest of their students. Then there's the whole political quagmire. Education has become a political football, with different parties pushing their own agendas and ideologies. We need to find a way to move beyond the partisan bickering and focus on what's best for kids. And of course, there's the issue of funding. These reforms are going to require a significant investment. We need to convince lawmakers and the public that investing in education is not an expense, it's an investment in our future. But perhaps the biggest challenge of all is going to be changing the way we think about education. We need to move away from the factory model of education, where students are treated as passive recipients of information, and embrace a more student-centered approach that values creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. If you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, and subscribe to join the movement for better schools in America.